Bishop E.W.Jackson. We had to wake him up today at a late night. Last night, he's on Lou Dobbs. He's on all kinds of shows well into the evening. E.W., good to have you with us, sir.
And look, it's great to be with you, John. I think I'll decline becoming a used car salesman, although I appreciate the confidence you have in me.
You'd be good. I can see that sign up there with your smile. I'd buy from you. E.W., I would buy a car from you, right? And what does that say, right? That says something about your overall.
Well, thank you. I certainly try to sell a car with integrity. I've only sold one personally, and I think I gave the person a good deal. In fact, I ended up giving the guy some money back because he came back to me and said, well, something was wrong with it that we didn't know about, so I gave him some money back. So thank you, John. I appreciate the confidence.
See? Yeah, I know that, man. I know my peeps, as they say. Bishop Jackson, okay. Help us understand what went down with the resignation of Tim Wolf at the University of Missouri yesterday. You know, looking at this, I'm trying to figure out what the guy did wrong. And then the football team, hunger strikes. I'm just trying to understand what the president of the university did to deserve being disgraced in the manner he did. Can you help me understand and our audience?
Well, now this is just my theory,
yes, sir.
but I think it's accurate. I think what we're looking at is Ferguson syndrome. I think what's happened is that the narrative that somehow Michael Brown was unjustly killed, and by the way, a narrative that even the very liberal, the very racial justice-minded Attorney General Eric Holder found not to be true and exonerated Officer Darren Wilson, but nevertheless, that narrative continues to be promoted. And I think whatever was going wrong on the campus, and 35,000 kids on the campus, apparently, from what I could read, only 2 or 3 incidents that at least that they named. Now, maybe there were others that they didn't name, but they only named 2 or 3 incidents, none in which anybody was attacked violently or anything, just something was said, and the Confederate flag was flown at one point. And I think that people, because of Ferguson and because of the atmosphere that's now been created, contributed to, by the way, in my view, by the President of the United States, they're up in arms, and they finally, I think when the football team decided that they weren't going to play, and it became an issue of money for the university, I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
So at the end of the day, this was really about money, right?
I think that's what ultimately precipitated his resignation. I think the Board of Trustees probably decided, look, we can't afford to lose. I think my understanding is they lose $1 million a game.
Right.
We can't afford to lose that kind of money. He's got to go, and so off he went. Now, the demands that were made by these kids are about as Looney Tunes as you get. They basically want to take over and run the university like some sort of totalitarian banana republic. I think there's got to be some pushback on that, but I think this does boil down to money in the end in terms of the president and the chancellor going.
Now we've got a similar thing, EW, going on with Yale University. Where are we going with this?
Well, I'll tell you, John, it's frustrating because we have a president who had a tremendous opportunity over the last 7 years to bring people in this country together and to teach these kids who are off on this sort of racial justice mantra that in the end, what their lives become is a matter of the decisions they make and the actions they take. And that, yes, we certainly do need fairness, and yes, we don't want discrimination. But in the end, this constant drumbeat of, I'm a victim, and they wanted the chancellor, the president, for example, to confess that he bears white male privilege. I mean, that is preposterous. First of all, let me just say for the record, there is no such thing as white male privilege. I mean, look, every individual is different, and there's some white males born to privilege because their parents are very wealthy or well-to-do. I often say my children were born to 2 educated parents. My wife has 2 master's degrees. I've got a JD. We've always done well. You can't tell me that my children are somehow disadvantaged over some white kid born to a pregnant out of wedlock mother who lives in a project of an inner city, and they're out there. So this idea of white privilege is it's just divisive, and it's non-productive, and we need some adults to step in, and unfortunately, the president hadn't provided that leadership. Maybe the next president will.
Bishop Jackson.
Well, thank you, Emma. Thank you.
And so, E.W., Friday night, date night for the Fräulein and I, 5 o'clock, we want to invite you and your wife to Vino's, best place in Chesapeake, 138 Battlefield Boulevard. Check your schedule. Show the wife a little romance. Join us at Vino's.
Well, listen, I'll take that under advisement. I will talk to my wife about that. See what our schedule is like. Sounds very inviting.
See, I know how to do date night. My counterpart in election night, Mike Watson, he botches date night, so we fired him. He can't be a date night with us. He talks politics and stuff. Forget it. Okay, now I want to get to the transgender bathroom agenda. What in the world, Bishop Jackson, is going on?
Well, look, this is part of this slide into moral and cultural relativism where everything goes. If it feels good or feels right to you or to any individual, then somehow the rest of us have to always accommodate that because that's that person's truth, and it has to be affirmed. I don't think there's any man or woman, for that matter, in America who, with common sense, who would want your daughter in a locker room with a guy who thinks he's a woman. And look, here's the thing with the administration and this school in Illinois. It's not enough that the guy's in the locker room. The administration wants the guy to be able to dress and undress without any curtain around him separating him from the rest of the girls, because even though he thinks he is a girl, his physiology is still that of a male. And that's just common sense. But the administration says, no, if you put a curtain around him, that's discrimination. And John, that is insane. It's beyond the pale. And I'm just hoping that we're going to have some leaders in this country, not only at the presidential level, but at every level, who are going to bring some common sense to these issues. Look, we don't want to hurt this kid, and this kid's obviously confused. But my goodness, does everybody have to suffer and everybody have to be put through this because one kid's got some kind of psychological problem? Well,
and why isn't it ever the girl that wants to be a boy that goes into the boys' locker room?
Right.
I'm just asking the question. Right. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just asking the question. That's all.
Look, it's an interesting question, isn't it? It's a very interesting question. Even in this, what it shows is that males are different than females. Look, whoever this kid or any person identifies with, their identity is the sex or gender that they were born with. And so the aggressiveness of men are inherently kind of aggressive creatures. The aggressiveness of men comes out because you're right. This is always about a man wanting to go into a ladies' bathroom or wanting to go into a ladies' locker room. And it just goes to show, even though they try their best, you can't deny that there are inherent differences between men and women in our behavior, our psychology, and certainly, by the way, in our physiology.
Well, Bishop Jackson, though, what is going to happen is, like gay marriage, the political correct police and the secular progressive left-wing media machine is going to beat you over the head into submission until you go along with this, just like they did with gay marriage, and they continue to do it with this stuff. I mean, I got to tell you, we're on our show getting advice on how to bring this topic up to be politically correct. And I've got a radio show. Why? Well, because they've drummed this into us, that there's only certain things that you're able to say on the air, and you have to be careful, and we're mincing the words. Like, even I went to my executive producer, Courtney, who you know, and I said, I want to bring up the transgender issue. Tell me exactly how to say it so it's politically correct. I mean, this is the insane world that I'm now sucked into, of all people.
Well, you know, John, gay is the new black. That's what we're basically being told. Gay is the new black. And so in the same way that you wouldn't say anything of a racial nature that a black person would not want to hear, because that would be offensive, and obviously we wouldn't want to do that, or for that matter, you wouldn't want to say anything about anybody's race that they would find offensive, because, it's just a common decency. If you even acknowledge, say, for example, a person says they're a boy, but they say they want to be a girl, or they identify as a girl. If you don't then call them, in fact, I'm sure you heard this case, the 6-year-old that the parents said, even though it was a girl, wanted to be a boy. And one weekend, from Friday to Monday, the kid leaves as a girl, comes back Monday as a boy, and demands that the whole class acknowledge the new name, the new persona. And if they don't do that, they're all very bad people. I mean, some of this stuff has just gotten so ridiculous that it's going to hurt a lot of folks before it's all over. And by the way, gay is not the new black, and behavior, which is what homosexuality and transgenderism is. It is a behavior, is not the same as the immutable color of a person's skin. But that's what they sold that bill of goods to people. And by the way, let me go on the record. I will never support it. I will never acknowledge it. I've said in many speeches, they can change 1,000 dictionaries, issue 1,000 Supreme Court decisions, they can write 1,000 laws, but marriage will always be a union between one man and one woman. I will never acknowledge it as anything else. Any other attempt to try to create anything else is simply false.
Gay is the new black. E.W.Jackson. You know what? Very well said. We're going to have to steal that one, and if we'll give you attribution, no question. Okay, we want to thank Bishop E.W.Jackson for being with us. Bishop, people want more information. Where do they go?
They go to standamerica.us, and it's just like it sounds, standamerica.us. Sign up to get our emails and connect with us. We'll be happy to get them involved in the stuff that we're doing, and we're very, very busy in Virginia right now.